Hi. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming on this podcast. I would like to say to you that this is going to be the most engineered, if not manipulated, election in November in our lifetime. Today is the 7th of May. November the 7th is the election day, the day you vote. That's exactly 6 months from today. We've already got parties out there now, policy panicking, and the panic policies they're putting out, and the things that they are beginning to do now to the public to try and, I guess, persuade them their way. But let me tell you, I want to say something here, and I think it's very important, but it hasn't been talked about. It's the quiet part that we're not talking about. These elections, are they manipulated or are they actually illegal, null and void? And we'll go into that here in this conversation with my team member here, Jenny. We'll do that in a moment. But I want to say to you, apart from being the most crucial election that you will vote in, I want to tell you that democracy has been dead in this nation for a long time. Right back to Helen Clark's days and her regime, a communist regime that self-confessed, can't believe it, that she's allowed to get away with it. But that day, democracy died in New Zealand. And she ripped it out of the hands of the people, the power, and put it on politicians, no doubt about it. In 1999, they had a citizens-initiated referendum that was held then, and 81% of the public of New Zealand had voted to cut in half the numbers or reduce the numbers of MPs at that time in government. It was bloated, like today's government's bloated. And you know what Helen Clark did? She threw you in the bin. She actually ignored the people's voice. And at that moment, I believe democracy died. She took the power off the people and put it in the hands of herself and her politicians. Ever since, the people haven't been consulted. We don't get a say. Politicians go off on their own merry way, making their own rules and laws and doing what they want after we have voted for them. Well, we're in this predicament now. So let's look at a few things that I want to discuss here. The first one is that mass immigration, which I've been warning this country about for the last 7 years, and it's now gone beyond mass immigration to mass invasion. And I understand when another country or people invade your country, that basically means war. And we are fast approaching what I would call a civil war of culture, a civil war of our way of life and how we do things in New Zealand, and many other things that we see in the part of what we need to now involve ourselves in is what's the solution? How do we get through this? And I know many of you are very concerned who we're voting for. People are here and there, and we're saying National and Labour might go together, and they're saying Winston Peters and New Zealand First is a party, and some are saying now Seymour. Forget Greens and Te Pāti Māori, they should just go into oblivion. But then I think all of them should. None of them have done a good job. None of them have addressed the problem. Well, with me today, I've got Jenny. Now, one of the first things we want to talk about straight up here is why I said, is these elections manipulated or are they actually out front straight illegal? What do you think, Jen?
Exactly. Well, there's a couple of things. We've got the issue of all of these permanent residents and immigrants that are coming into New Zealand that are voting in our elections. This is one of the unique things about New Zealand. Most countries, you have to be a citizen to vote, whereas in New Zealand we allow permanent residents to vote after they've been here for 1 year. So that potentially is a huge voting block.
So go back, sorry, Jen, to interrupt. You said two types of voting blocks. Can you just go back and explain that again?
So that you've got the citizens that can vote, which is all
well,
of
that's
us.
how it should be, shouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then you've also got these permanent residents that can vote after they've been here
permanent
for 1
residents?
year. Yeah. In most countries, that's not the case.
Hold on, you said 1 year?
Yeah, 1 year.
Did you hear that? 1 year is a permanent resident. After 1 year, you can vote. These permanent residents, most of them are made up of...
Well, they've made no commitment to our country. So why are they voting? You know, they're obviously not gone as far as being a citizen. they could, I mean, they're probably still loyal to the country that they've come from. So why are they deciding our future here in New Zealand?
So that means that we have poor immigration policies, or
Yes.
so
Yes.
we have a lot of. That's a lot. How many residents do we have? They call them permanent residents, isn't it? This is a way of getting around pushing citizenship properly. We haven't got a citizenship. I don't believe we have.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Seymour's was weak.
Exactly. So we've got, leading into this election, about 10% of our voters are potentially going to be these permanent residents. Now we've got, the last I heard from the Electoral Commission is that we've got about 3.4 million voters here in New Zealand. And you're looking at a good portion of them are going to be these permanent residents. Now, the other thing that's an issue is the amount of them that are coming across the border. Like I was reading the other day that there's 1 million visa applications that our Immigration New Zealand is receiving every year. Now, I know within that is included tourists and so forth, but there's a lot of people coming in on all sorts of visas now. And how can a country of 5.5 million people, only a little country, deal with adequately 1 million visa applications coming across and how can we be doing a good job of actually vetting these people and ensuring that they are actually quality people that should be in New Zealand? And like they're saying that the numbers of rejected visas have dropped off. I'm not surprised. They're getting too many. How are they actually finding the time to actually sort through them all?
Wasn't the last one 65,000 that they do applications out of 1 million?
Yeah, just over 1 million. Your chances of getting a visa coming into New Zealand are pretty good on those numbers, So that's why
we got a weak
we're not
border. We got no we actually got no border at all.
Exactly, and the amount of people that they're allowing to be residents in New Zealand, this is where it was actually talked about way back in 2017 that the election was really decided by these permanent residents, or I just refer to them as immigrants. They're actually helping to decide our elections. So I think that's why we're seeing Luxon and Hipkins and all of them parading around at all of these multicultural events every weekend, because they actually know that they're going to swing the vote. They're going to determine whether we go blue or red.
So they're basically imported votes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imported votes, and that number could be up to 1 million plus, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is why they've dressed up in their turbans and bowed down to their religious gods.
Yeah.
This is what we see National do. But then, also Seymour and New Zealand First. They've been known in the past to court the immigrant vote, and they still are today. So they are, these guys are forgetting about the Kiwis.
Yes.
How do we feel? How do I feel? How do you feel, Jen, that my vote going to the election booth in November is not really going to make the difference? It's not going to count. It's going to count to bringing maybe the two big parties closer together. So they need the vote that actually counts to get them across the line is the immigrant vote.
Well, exactly. And I believe I'm a true patriot, born and raised,
What's a patriot?
Many generations.
What's
someone that's loyal to this country and this country only. That's how I would determine a patriot. And I know I'm very loyal to only this country, and I don't care about any other country. I only care about New Zealand in the sense of, making this the best possible country that my children, my grandchildren can be raised in. And we just, I look at everything coming across from these political parties. There's nothing for us as Kiwis.
Nothing for Kiwis. So going back to this, that we've got ourselves in the worst possible situation, and it's been creeping over the last, 10 years? 30 years since MMP.
30 years.
Helen Clark started it. But let's look at this just lately, this government.
Yeah.
That comprises of the three of them, the coalition. Luxton, we know what he's doing. Peters and Seymour are all part of the government. They've still got almost, back, it's 6 months, but a year ago, these guys were actually folding up, weren't governing any longer, and were campaigning.
Well, exactly. They're electioneering already.
While we're in the worst possible immigration mess ever in our history, and they've done still nothing except panic, policies at the last minute, throwing out lollies to vote them who created the mess. This is my thing. I'm not against. I don't have a vendetta against New Zealand First or National. I'm just bringing out facts and evidence of what these politicians are not doing and what they are doing to actually manipulate this election.
Well, we've had 30 years this year. It's the 30-year anniversary of MMP.
Oh,
And I would say that those 30 years, we've really gone backwards big time as a country. And this is a part of the problem of MMP, is every election we see that all of the minor parties come out with very radical policies and ideas, and it's all about trying to get easy clickbait or easy headlines to try and sort of bust themselves into, they want to play with the big boys, being Labour and National, so they put out all sorts of policies, but you never actually really see very few of them actually come through because really it's still going to usually Labour or National that sort of decides.
Tell me this. That the coalition formation at the beginning with Luxton, Seymour and Peters, surely they must have known that mass immigration was going to be a huge problem, because I have no doubt that Luxton would have, they all knew the country was broke. I mean, the economy was the key focus. Now, they had 2 or 3 months locked behind closed doors, which I don't agree with. I think they should be open to the people in these deals. But I understand that Luxton talked strongly about opening the immigration doors. And apparently, Peters and Seymour agreed with it. Well, they must have, because if they didn't, they would have come out and said, there's a problem with the coalition, we don't agree. But they knew. So Luxton and Peters knew that we were going to be piled on again, flooded with immigrants from India. He would explain this. Luxton would have been naively open. So all these guys have known this, Jen. They've had 3 years, and now they're all trying to ask for your vote after deliberately allowing this country to be destroyed.
Well, I think that's where it's pretty rich now that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. We've been bombarded with both ACT and New Zealand First trying to lead the public to believe that they're going to fix immigration. And this is where I take real exception to that, because like yourself, I voted for New Zealand First at one point because I believed they were going to actually put New Zealanders first. And I only made that fatal mistake once, and I vowed never again. But that was back in 2017 when they were promising they were going to put New Zealanders first. But what happened is then he went into coalition talks, and I found it very interesting when I watched Jacinda's Prime Minister movie. She was very clear in that whole, it was being filmed real time, that within those coalition talks with Winston, she was very adamant that the one thing she wouldn't budge on was immigration. Now, he had campaigned that he was going to ensure that net immigration was going to drop to 10,000. Well, just look at what's happened. It absolutely skyrocketed during that Jacinda-Winston-led coalition. And then even again, more recently in this last term, it's, never mind net migration of 10,000 people, we're now up to like 170,000, extra people coming in. And that's not even taking into account the fact that there's so many Kiwis that have been moving overseas. So I don't believe people like Winston, he's had all this time, 47 years in Parliament. Back when he entered Parliament, immigration was about net zero. Now we're up in 170,000 a year. Net, that's net, by the way. So the amount of people that are actually flooding into New Zealand, he's done nothing to stop it. So for him to now come out, and it's quite rich for him to say, I'm going to fix immigration now. I don't believe it.
But Seymour's doing the same, aren't they?
Well, exactly.
These are the panic policies they're throwing out because it's votes. There's only one day in 3 years that the public actually have power, because our power's been stripped of us from a long time ago.
Yes.
But that one day, on 7th of November, you, the public, have the power of your vote. Now, I know many of you are saying we've got to get the worst or the best of the bad bunch, and I think that is just defeatism. I can't believe that the public are considering voting any of these parties, any of these leaders at all. I'm not even going to. I'm going to waste my breath on Labour, Greens and Te Pāti Māori. But these other three, I mean, they've had power for a long time, Jen.
Yeah.
And like you said before, and we agree on this, that they've done nothing considerable or anything that's effective to curb what I call mass invasion now.
Well, if you were to ask yourself, what have they done for us this term? It's pretty difficult to actually
Find anything.
find anything. What have they actually done to really help us? You know, and
Well,
so
they've
a
helped
lot
me
of
get
promises.
they're helping us get replaced.
Yeah, well, exactly. And now that, I mean, obviously, I would credit yourself for having been the largest voice when it comes to the issue of mass immigration. And I think you're more powerful than you realise because you've forced that into the public domain where you're forcing the politicians to have to talk about it because they were hoping no one would notice. And they were happy to not even, it wasn't, they didn't even talk about it last election. And there was, you know, they've all just been merrily going along thinking, oh, the public's pretty blind to what's actually happening. But you forced the public to have to talk about it. Now they're all coming up with these fake promises, but I don't believe, fundamentally, they are very much globalists in that at heart, and so they're not, I don't see patriotic behaviour from them.
Well, you can see this really easily that it's replacement now.
Yes.
You know, it's an invasion of another culture, another religion, and they're replacing us in every aspect of life, every strata, and jobs. Now that's been getting difficult for Kiwis to get jobs. You see when businesses are being brought now, most of the petrol stations, supermarkets, you can see other mid-range businesses, they're employing their own. But these people, if you import third world country or third world people or people who come from a place that has a reputation of being unhygienic and corrupt and sexually perverted, saying those things. Now that's been moved into our country. Virtually open borders, no vetting. So God knows how many criminals we've got coming. I mean, we've already had cases of massive fraud. We've had election fraud. We've had, I believe there's been a rape.
There's been multiple.
Rapes. There you go. So you know what, Kiwis? You can't just sit comfortably and think you're going to wait till on the 7th of November and vote one of these 6 clowns in these parties that are in this election now. Can't happen. And one of the things that I think we've got to realise that these people have come from a country. They bring one of the things I have trouble with, Jen, is that we don't put any conditions on them, no requirements.
Exactly.
Virtually come in with their customs, their religions, their way of life. There's no demand to speak English or to change in any shape or form. It's really disrespectful, and I think I hold our politicians accountable for allowing these people to freely plonk themselves in this country, virtually set up a parallel society in paradise, and away they go. They're allowed to just completely take over and ruin our country.
Exactly, and that's why, you know, we're fighting to keep New Zealand New Zealand. So if they want to come into our country, the reason they've left the country they've come from is because it wasn't great. But they're trying to bring in and import all of the things that made that country not great. So they're trying to bring in their foreign religions and their way of dressing and all of their behaviours. They know it doesn't work because that's why they're leaving the country that they're coming from. So they're coming to us and they're trying to transform New Zealand under our nose. And that's where I think for us, because we live here in South Auckland, it is so obvious everywhere we go now. And a lot of Kiwis might not understand this, and sometimes I feel like you almost need to grab some of these South Islanders and different ones and bring them into the heart of South Auckland where we are every day, and they would be surprised and shocked and wonder if they're even in New Zealand anymore because of what we see walking around us. And these are people who are not assimilating into the Kiwi way of life. And I see, you know, ACT come out yesterday with this citizens test. It's pretty weak. And, you know, like they want to quiz them about certain things. But see, this is the issue we have with our leadership is I don't think they even know what the Kiwi way of life is.
This is a good question,
Yeah.
a good conversation.
What do you think the Kiwi way of life is?
Well, the Kiwi way of life is basically Māori and European Kiwis. They come here born from the English side of what came to originally settle New Zealand. So you have the two called Kiwi, Iwi and the K. the kinsmen or kinsfolk from England. Put that together, you got Kiwi. I think that's the true Kiwi identity. And I think if we hold fast to that, I'm not ashamed to say that we should be citizens, patriots. True patriots are citizens. They're Kiwis, and they hold their ground on the requirements for you to be a citizen. Then you have to be a New Zealander. You have to be a Kiwi. You have to be loyal to this country. If you can't be loyal to this country, loyal to our flag, flying the one flag, and if there's a war that breaks out, we don't want the Chinese turning on us in this country, and I understand they will because they've got dual citizenship because they're not loyal to New Zealand. I don't want the Indians turning on us either because they'll be loyal to India. They don't want to be supporting us. So we're surrounded by a whole lot of people, and let's face it, we're in wartime. And if war broke out here, we're going to find ourselves a small minority trying to fight off people who are not loving our country, but are abusing our country and using it. And that's what I don't like about these politicians.
Yeah.
They're not strong enough on citizenship requirements.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I look at particularly, I know someone very close to me works in the police force, and I know that a lot of these immigrants that are coming in, the way that men treat their women, it's not the Kiwi way. They don't believe in equality between genders. So therefore, a lot of their women are very oppressed. And you see that in the way that they have to cover themselves up and the way that they're treated. And there's a lot of family harm incidences breaking out in a lot of these communities here in New Zealand because it's not the Kiwi way. And I think what's happening is a lot of these women is they come in as immigrants and they start to maybe learn that maybe they should be able to speak up and say some things. It doesn't go down very well with their men because, see, a lot of these cultures are not compatible with the way that we live and we protect our freedoms and our rights and the way that we show care for each other in the community aspect. And I don't like the fact that there's a lot of parallel societies being set up where they only trade with each other. They're not mixing very well with Kiwis.
No,
they're very much, they're very much about just keeping to their own, employing their own.
They have their own underground economy, sending money, a lot of New Zealand money home to India. That, plays with our economy.
Yeah.
Well, before we finish, Jen, one more. I want to talk about mass brainwashing.
Yeah. I'm pretty passionate about this kind of.
Yeah.
No one's talking about this.
No. And when I mean mass brainwashing, I'm talking about political manipulation through AI.
Yes.
An AI attack on the voters.
Yeah.
Tell me.
This will probably be the first election that AI content is going to play a big part. Now, they were talking about this back in the 2023 election, that was probably going to be the last election where everyone campaigned in the traditional way. And we're already seeing it. You only have to go on social media at the moment, and we're being bombarded as Kiwis. We're being bombarded with all of these fake news websites. They've got all sorts of names, but you can see that they are bent in certain directions. There's a few that I've seen that very much will always direct the supposed news article. They'll direct it back to voting for New Zealand First, or they'll direct it back to voting for ACT. So you can tell. And so the question is going to be, how are we equipped as a nation to deal with AI content? Because it's really bad. They call it AI slop, and there's deep fakes where they can imitate and impersonate all sorts of people. Like I mentioned, there's all these fake news sites. There's all sorts of AI-generated content that they're absolutely just propaganda. It's like propaganda.
So they're really brainwashed. They're pushing an agenda to get voters to go in a certain way, isn't it? It's quite manipulative.
Exactly.
Can I say this? It's kind of like sorcery.
Yeah.
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft, yeah.
Yeah, bewitching the public.
Yes. And they're using all these bots that are just pumping out information so that they're basically relying on the fact of, unfortunately for Kiwis, they are like sheep and they do follow the sort of the group
they
think,
believe it.
And if the majority seem to be going that way, then everyone falls in behind
I've been a victim of this stuff. I saw one from Oceania and there's all sorts of names they have, and I thought, who's this? And I had a picture of me that wasn't even me.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. And it had me though, but had that Brian Tamaki, do you love him or hate him? I mean, talk about give it. So
Almost
like,
every day there's one about you. And so but they're trying to
But you see,
manipulate and
they're
lead.
playing with people's minds.
They are. It's brainwashing them. And this is the thing about our electoral law, is it's not fit for purpose for this election in this AI world that we're now living in. And what's annoying is that just last year, this coalition government passed the electoral amendment bill. In 2025, it was a prime opportunity for them to actually address the AI issues that were going to be at play in these coming elections. But they were more worried about things like whether prisoners could vote and things like that. So it's out of pace and out of time. And my worry is that for this election, if you've got all of these things happening, it's happening around the world. Other countries have all had to bring in legislation to deal with AI manipulation in elections.
In New Zealand, Jen, I've seen this happening. I told some people around me, they actually went and put a comment on above an AI engineered, you can see it, article that was leaning toward the left. And they put their little wee piece up top of it, then shared it. And I said to them, did you know you shared something that was opposed to your way of thinking and your perspective?
Yeah.
You've just shared them. And that type of manipulation and sort of brainwashing oops.
Someone ringing?
Yeah, so, sorry. That sort of brainwashing begins to really work on people.
Yes.
And I don't think that people really realise how much they've been manipulated in this election. And that's why...
It's been at play in America. They've had to, a lot of the states over there, because there's been things like even deep fake sort of bots. In the last election, there was one that was ringing everybody in the voice of Biden and telling people not to vote, and that was pretty full on. So who knows what we're in for with this election, but I don't know about you, but in the last month I've seen such a proliferation of all of these fake news sites because they're ducking and diving all of our electoral rules. And my worry is that the people are just going to be flooded with so much of this content. They're not going to know what's true leading into this election because our politicians are doing nothing to address this.
Right. Well, they're using it.
Yeah.
Politicians and their parties.
You can tell. Who's behind it? Is there foreign interference behind it?
Yeah.
Are there some of these big donors? Are they funding this? Because there's clear bents in the way that they're framing up the conversation.
We can say now that probably this election is not only the most engineered and I said that it would be the most manipulated. Is it going to be an illegal one? Null and void, because when I think about what we started with before we go, we talked about the number of immigrant votes that are going to make the difference. So we're not determining our own future. We're not masters of our destiny anymore.
No.
It's immigrants, all right? The second thing we talked about was permanent residents. Now, residents, which could number up to almost 1 million as well, are not citizens. This is where I believe only citizens should vote, residents don't.
Exactly.
And yet here you've got probably the determining factor is residents. So here's the big thing that's happening here. Then now you have also maybe outside interference, overseas interference, and you definitely have these AI engineered, parasites working in the back.
Yeah. And that's why I think we as the people have got to really take this back into our own hands, because we've lost our democracy. We know in the past Helen Clark just discarded what the public wanted. When they wanted to reduce the number of MPs, she just said, no, I'm ignoring that. And it's even happening now with the way that they're trying to brainwash us as a public, and they think we're stupid. And I think it's time that we as the people stand up to all of these politicians and clean out Parliament, and that's why I know you've started this referendum of reform. Yep. And because we want to start to clean it all up, because it is slop.
I think people sort of take us a little bit wrong about what we're up to. They think they're stuck, stuck with Seymour.
Well, that's how they've been brainwashed to think.
Well, they do. They think that's the only 6 people, all parties. There's far too many parties, by the way, that we've got in New Zealand. They're the only people left.
Why do Kiwis think that the only solutions to fix this nation are going to come from these politicians that are currently in there? That's
the deception.
Yeah.
That they have the solutions, they're the answer to fix. Politicians are the most untrusted.
Or unqualified even.
Unqualified.
Most of them are career
incompetent
politicians. So.
Yeah, that's right. They're career politicians. Why do you do that, people? Why do you think
Well,
that the
yeah.
answer's with them?
Well, and it's also too the way that our system is set up. It actually puts off anyone that's actually got great ideas and great initiative and actually maybe built something that's of some consequence. Our parliament too is the best kind of Kiwis from ever been in there because of the way that they run it, and it's so corrupt. And MMP has been a real
You know
failure.
what I reckon, Jen? We ought to get our vote on November the 7th. Don't vote for any politician or party that's currently been in there.
Yeah.
They've all let us down. They've all done nothing. They all created this mess. So why don't we each take that moment we have the power to bring a fresh start to our politics. Take that vote and let's vote for the people. Vote for the people's movement. Vote for ourselves, because amongst us there is some bright, smart, skilled and honest people who I believe can take leadership. We need a leader. We don't need any more party politics and list MPs. We don't need any more coalitions. Let's find a leader in this country. Let him pick his A-team and let's start moving on policies that really are going to cut through in the first 50 days of the new election. Be bold. Take a risk. Get that vote. Let's not vote for them. Let's send them to oblivion.
Retirement.
Yeah, oblivion. Get rid of them. We can do that. We can do anything. Why not? Why should we be stuck with them? Come on, Kiwis. Let's take it. Believe in you. Believe in your fellow man and the public. Long enough that we've had our power stripped from us. Let's get it back by using that one vote on the 7th. Vote for the people. The people will have the power back. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again. Please comment on some of the things that we've said today. Bye.